We're at the Berkeley Court Hotel in Dublin, Ireland, and we're meeting with Richard Harris. Now, it's a bit of good luck for us. Not very good luck for Richard, though. He's lost his passport on his way to America, and that's why we're able to do this interview today. But anyway, he's an elusive man, difficult to get a hold of, and I'm delighted to have him here.
I should be at this moment in the Bahamas. My bag was lost at the airport, and in it was my passport and my check, my credit cards. But most importantly was, you won't believe this, was I'd spent, because of two very bad biographies written about me, very bad ones, I mean sort of trashy, a man called Michael Feely Cannon and a man called Gus Smith. So I thought, well, I'll correct all that. So over the past couple of months, or no, years since that came out, I always carry a small tape recorder, with me in moments of sort of solitude or relaxing by myself, and that something might come to mind about something, and I'd put on a tape recorder and I would record it, with the idea that I would then have it all transcribed, and I would look at it and see exactly what type of autobiography I wanted to write and what I would include in it. So I thought, let's have it all in the tapes, and I can edit out, afterwards.
Exactly.
Because I don't like kiss and tell things. The women who he had affairs with who are now grandmothers. So it's
a little embarrassing.
Yes, embarrassing. But I also find that, that a love affair or an affair between two people, doesn't matter how, the longevity doesn't make any difference. It probably at the beginning was quite sincere, and then burns itself out rather quickly. It's like a meteor. It's gone. And I find that they're intimate things between two people. They're not for public consumption. And you don't have the right to make money out of that relationship by exploiting her as well as you. You don't have the right to do that. I think people who do that, it's cheap money. Anyway, I put it all down on my tapes. There was 10 two-hour tapes, 52 pages of notes on it. And that's in the bag that's missing.
Oh my gosh.
So some guy now
is listening to your life.
Who has not only got a lot of money that was in the bags, and my passport, and my credit cards, but he's probably sitting back now listening to this tape saying, good Jesus, wasn't Dickie Harris a wild boy? Wasn't he a wicked lad? Listen to this. Look what he did. Oh my God. Listen. Oh. Listen. And then the field came and did the field. And I think the combination of both.
Right. That was quite controversial, wasn't it? The field. Yes.
Well,
I mean, the way that it happened, it was so interesting.
Yeah, all great things are controversial, but how do you mean?
Well, in that originally you were supposed to be just doing a small part, but you ended up playing the main role.
Yeah. Well, when Jim offered me the thing, when Noel Pearson did, they were trying to put together a kind of, a sort of a team of players that might attract financiers.
Yes.
And they thought I might be sort of a valuable addition to that. And they offered me the small part in it, and I read it, and I knew there and then I was going to play it, the lead, not the small part they offered me, but the lead. I knew then I was going to play it. There was nobody else, and like me, it's just one of those things that nothing is impossible for me in my life. It's terrible. It's an awful sort of arrogant feeling to have, but nothing is impossible. I think that everything is possible. You just have to go out for it. And it appeared, from their point of view, that I would not play it. It was impossible for me to, because there was somebody else hired as well. I knew in April I was going to play it, so I grew the beard and shaved my hair off. And anyway, there, as fate turned out, I pursued it and auditioned really for it, and I got it. And there we were, and that changed. It gave me the kind of incentive and the taste to go back and do it all again. And sort of I also thought it something interesting. I thought in a strange way that when I started off first, I was successful very quickly. And of course, I think much to my amazement in a strange way, I found myself, I became very successful very quickly and was kind of hailed as this genius actor. And I kind of sat back and thought, they're all crazy. Sporting Life came, and then Camelot came, and all that. And I was being hailed as this sort of marvelous actor. And I kind of, in a strange way, didn't quite believe it. It was too much weight for me to carry, though I reveled in the social acceptance of it. But inwardly, I didn't quite believe it at all. But I worked very hard. I knew I worked very, very hard at my craft, and I worked very, very hard at what I thought was the right approach and developing your own approach, if you like, to the work as an actor. And I knew that I was full of marvelous ideas that would astonish people when I discussed, scripts or plays and that, and put some of them into practice, which were kind of well accepted. But then I discovered somehow that there was another life to acting. That that maybe it wasn't the reason. I don't know why I became an actor, and I found that there was another kind of a life I wanted to live. I kind of had a strange sort of fatalistic idea that I wasn't going to die young, which I didn't. Mm-hmm. I'm 63 now.
Yes.
I would die young, and I wanted to go out and maybe not encourage death, but at least I would, in the interim between life and death, I would live an exciting life. Mm-hmm. So that became my drinking, my womanizing, mm-hmm. and I did everything you can think of. I mean, I could write the book and what I did, and I did it. I had the most exciting life. No human being could have a more exciting life. You could have an equally exciting life to mine, but you couldn't have a more exciting life. I did everything you can think of. I just took a chance and ran at it and did it. I had the most marvelous love affairs. I met the most fantastic women. I had the greatest experiences, the greatest drunks, mm-hmm. the greatest hangovers, the largest vomits. Right. I mean, the best. I've been in jail in six countries. Who else can claim that? Right. Okay. I had breakfast in so many jails you can't believe it. From Moscow to New York to Dublin to not to Limerick to New York, London, all over the place. I've been in jail. Wonderful. Paris. Horrible. Don't ever go to jail in Paris. It's the worst.
I'll remember.
It's the worst. It's horrific. The Bahamas. Right. So anyway, so I did all that, and then I thought, okay, that's it. And my career is obviously gone. In the intro, my career went, because they thought, well, you can't take him seriously because he doesn't take us seriously. And then I thought I'd retire. And then I got a second chance to come back. So I said to myself, well, if I come back, I have lived now the exciting life. I'm getting too old for it. You have to continue it. So I thought, well, I'll now go back and exploit this gift. Is it a gift or is it not a gift? Is it an illusion? Is it somebody else's illusion? It could be the critic's illusion. So I'll go back and I'll exploit it. And I'll see how good was I really. I think the secret of acting really, if that's the profession I'm in, I suppose it is, I'm not so sure, but I think that the secret of it is not to lose touch. I don't. People. I remember once there was a journalist here in Dublin whose name I won't mention, who criticized me once for not turning up on a television show, which is a thing I've never done in my life. He wrote this article about Richard Harris and his sycophantic friends. He travels with an entourage who protects him from the public. And I read this and said, who is he writing about?
Yeah, because it's not you at all.
I have never had in my life, I traveled by myself. A mate, maybe. I never had bodyguards, secretaries. Sean Connery and I are the only two actors in Hollywood who have never had a press agent. Right. I have never had, in the history of my career, a press agent.
I don't think you need it, though, because you're such a determined man.
I don't need bodyguards. I can certainly take care of myself. Right. So you have this sort of image of some idiot in the press. Yeah. I forget his name, O'Toole or something. I think he was wrote this thing in the press about me.
And then immediately people believe it.
They believe it. You really say, who's he writing about? I mean, friends, sycophants. I don't have anybody with me. I'm here by myself. I traveled by myself.
Do you know what I liked was when Josh Logan, when you met him and you wanted that part so badly. I mean, that shows a lot about your personality. Your determination.
Well, the same thing. Well, look, Wrestling Ernest Hemingway, they gave me the script to read. Someone said, read this script. So my agent, so it's a wonderful read, but you have no hope of getting it. I said, what's the point of reading it? I don't like reading scripts. I like reading novels. And I said, and I was reading a Margarita Duras book. I'm on an aeroplane flying to New York, and I've thought I packed that book in my briefcase. And I didn't when I got in the plane. And I found the script for Hemingway. And I read it. Because of nothing else to read on the plane, having left my book behind. It's fate. I read it, and when I got to New York, I said, I'm going to play this.
See, that was meant to be.
I called up, and they said, now let me tell you who's ahead of you. Paul Newman wants it. Walter Matthau wants it. Jack Lemmon wants it. Kirk Douglas wants it. Anthony Quinn wants it. You're way down the bottom of the list.
So how did you get it?
You're not going to get it. So I said, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Where's the director? She was a woman, and she happened to be in New York at the time. I saw her for a 5-minute interview that lasted 5 hours.
Right.
And by the end of it, you say the one thing you say the one thing that absolutely that what's it called in chess? Checkmates them.
Mm-hmm.
You say, I tell you what, if you have any doubt about my playing this part, test me. They go, what? Test me. They said, test you? Yeah, test me. You mean that you'd submit to a test? Yep, I will. Are you sure? Oh, yes, I've told you. What date?
Good.
And before where you go, you find yourself, I paid my own way out to California. I paid my own hotel. I paid my own air flight. I said, you supply the camera and the film and the place to shoot it, and I'll test. And I tested and got it.
Oh.
And that's what you're going to see, the Hemingway. But acting, all this thing about acting, yeah,
Myself.
I used to make people laugh at parties and at beer parties and start imitating people.
Yeah.
I was a good mimic.
Did you didn't use it in school or anything?
No,
Because a lot of kids do, you know, when they're
No,
good
not at all. No.
at acting.
Not at all, but I think that's one of the... Do you know what we've done? Do you know what we've done with our lives? Do you know what's all wrong? You see, if you can take acting as a metaphor for life, it's like in rugby, we've taken it all too seriously. Now we have the All Blacks, and you have the South Africans, you've got the Irish team, squad training, 5 days a week. There was a time when you went out to play. You just played because it was good to play.
And you didn't analyze it to
Not
death.
at all.
Yeah.
And now we take it all so proud. There's actors walking around New York, and they're so precious, and they all dine in a special club because they don't want to dine with other people. They all eat in a place called Columbus, down on Columbus Avenue. This is where De Niro, and this is where the boys who exclude themselves from the general rabble of people because they are so precious and they don't want to be interfered. And you've bodyguards around this restaurant not letting you in unless, oh, Richard Harris, you can come in. Why should I be allowed in?
Yeah.
They create a kind of barrier of sort of preciousness around. They're not precious. There's no pressure. Politicians aren't precious anymore. Stop all this pressure. They're ordinary people who came up from farms and from Killybeag and from Ennis and Clare. Stop all this. This all becomes art and darling.
Right. What was the most difficult time in your life? Like, I know you went through that time with drinking, but was that
It
necessarily...
wasn't difficult at all.
No.
I loved it. I mean, I confound analysts. I confound Alcoholics Anonymous. I confound people who are in therapy, who say that if you drank as much as you did and you lived the life that you lived, you had to be running away from something. There had to be something in your past that drove you into dark corridors. Now it's all child abuse. Oh, God, it's so boring, isn't it? I mean, I hate to tell you that. God, everybody's been child abused now. They get headlines in papers. You can see that PR guy say to them, say you were child abused, I get you the headline. I get you the front page of Time magazine. Yeah, I was child abused. Yeah, what happened? Because my father kissed me too strongly or something. Right. Or he held my hand. My father held my hand once when I was going to church. That's child abuse. I was child abused. I mean, oh, God help us. Isn't it awful? Isn't it just dreadful? You're afraid to sort of...
You're afraid to be normal.
Well, and they talk about, sexual harassment. I should be in jail for life for sexual harassment. For life. I'd never get out of jail. I harassed every female I ever saw. I made passes at, and if I didn't make passes at them, they'd be furious to know why I didn't. And if I did, 20 years later, I'm accused of it. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's so funny, isn't it? It's so pathetic, really.
It is.
But anyway, I don't know. What were we saying?
We were talking about the most difficult time. It obviously wasn't when you were drinking.
Not at all. I drank because I loved it. I absolutely adored it. I adored it. I was running away. I was the happiest drunk in the world. I was the happiest guy in the world. And I used to look forward to waking up the next morning with a terrible hangover. And then suddenly opening the Daily Express and find, what did I do?
And you didn't remember?
Where did I do it? I was in Bow Street. I spent 2 nights in jail. How many stitches have I got? How did I get those? I used to love it. I used to love it. And it had nothing to do with problems. I had no problems whatsoever. I had a good family, and my mother and father. I have nothing against them. There
7
were
brothers
too
and
many
sisters.
There were
8
brothers
of
and
you,
sisters. There
weren't
were
there?
8 of us, yeah. Too many. maybe. But it doesn't matter, you know. And people say, "Oh, there's a secret demon in there." No, there's none. Whenever he liked, and however he liked.
I can see the two of you
now I
together.
got to catch my plane.